Heyo, so I'm going to show you how to use different parts of your ControlNet to go ahead and make particular photos. So we're going to be using OpenPose so that we can get exactly what we want. We're going to be using depth so that we can get very particular photos that are text prompted. And we're going to be using Canny, which ends up taking a photo, breaking it down into like a series of line arts, and then recreating it. So we're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff here. We're going to need to download the models so that we can get at this stuff. So we're going to get going with that here right now. This is actually really cool stuff because this really, I mean, it's called ControlNet for a reason. You have control over what you're building, and so I'm going to it's not just a matter of getting the models, because we do got to get models, but it's a matter of knowing how to use them. And so I'm going to walk you through some of that. So, but first, please go ahead and like the channel and let everyone know about CogniBuild and about understanding AI and getting going fast and all that good stuff, because we all want to get there and want to do this. And then it's up to you to do all of the awesome stuff. I'm just like the doorway. I'm the one handing you stuff and saying, hey, go out and do something with it. And I'm excited to hear what it is. So let people know. Appreciate that very much. Like the channel and all that. Okay, well, let's move on with doing this. We got a bit to cover, so let's go. All right, so for this project, we're going to go ahead and be using SD Forge for this. Now, we're going to have to get models to work with this, and they're going to be particular for SD Forge, okay? So a lot of these other stuff you're going to be using, your Comfy UI, your Invoke, some of the stuff you can do with Focus. Those things actually have built-in models, and like with the Comfy UI, you'll be able to download them. We're doing SD Forge today, okay? But here's the other thing. We're going to be using poses. We're going to be using pose packs here to create this stuff. This is actually what I'm going to be showing you how to do. This is actually for using OpenPose. We're going to be using this is for depth. So this is all ballerina. See, it's the same thing. And then you can't see it, but we're going to be having some JSON files as well. And JSON is just a way of categorizing. It's putting together data. Okay, so we're going to be using these pose packs to build it, and the beautiful thing about these pose packs is that they actually work software agnostic. So it does not matter if you're using SD Forge or if you're using Focus or you're using or you're using Comfy UI. They're the packs we are going to be using and creating ourselves can be used anywhere. Now, I'm going to use these ones that are off of my Patreon page. I wish this wasn't so damn big here. But you'll see in here I put together several different packs, up to 1,300 images, 1,500 images. You've got 300 here. So we're going to be using these ones. We're going to be using our safe for work ones. We do have an explicit one in here that we're not going to touch. That's if you're doing adult theme stuff, but pretty much everything else is all safe for work. So we're going to play around probably with this one, this mega activity pack. Okay, but we're going to get going here. Now, we load up SD Forge. If you don't have SD Forge, you need to go download it. And to download it, you click on the browser and you just type in SD Forge, GitHub, okay? It's going to bring up your Stable Diffusion. You'll scroll all the way down, and then you'll find where it says installing Forge. You'll click this, extract it, click the run button. Okay, so you're going to be doing that. Now, next thing we're going to be doing is, I'm not going to walk you through downloading models. If you haven't downloaded models, you just need to go watch the other video. It'll just take us too long. But I've got a few different models here. We're going to be playing with these XL models, and then we have what are our SD models. Okay, and that's pretty much, if it doesn't say XL on it, it's probably an SD model here. All right, and that's going to matter for when we use our ControlNet. Okay, so ControlNet with SD Forge is actually integrated into it. You'll see down here it says ControlNet integrated. Right, so it's a pretty good showing that it's integrated. And what we'll do is we'll open it up, and then we just click this to activate it. Okay, now you're going to see we've got all of these different control nets in here that each do a little bit different. I'm going to show you where you can download these manually. We're only going to be dealing with Canny, Depth, and OpenPose today. Okay. However, if you do want to download all of these, you can actually go back to the Patreon site here, and you'll see you can either join for like $5 and just download it, or you can buy it for $6. And you can download the models. Just click it, and it's going to literally give you all of these. You just put it in the right folder, and it's going to go brrr, get it all done. So we're going to do this manually here, though. So what we're going to do is we have to go to 2 different pages because we need for both Stable Diffusion models and XL models. So going back to our internet here, okay, let me see something here really quick, okay. We're going to type in Ilias Viel. This is the guy that creates all this stuff. ILLYASVIEL. And then we're going to type in ControlNet. Now, this is putting up XL, but we're going to pull V11 first. Okay? Yeah, I'll just go like that. It's going to bring up this, Ilias Viel ControlNet. These are the ones for your Stable Diffusion models. It will bring up this page on Hugging Face. You need to have logged in for this to work. Let me make sure that you can actually see everything on here. Just give me one moment. It's funny how this software works. If I resize my window at all outside of the program, it blows everything up. Okay, so Hugging Face is going to bring us to here, and we're going to click on Files and Versions. Now you're going to see all these files. You don't need to worry about the YAMLs. What we want is the paths. If you were going to download each control net, you would go find your tile, your depth, your Canny, your in-paint, and you would download those all into the correct folder. I'm going to show you what folder. We're only going to grab 3, okay, of them. Like I said, if you just want to go over here, you can just grab the ControlNet models here, click it, and it'll download it for you. You don't even have to worry about all this stuff. But first thing we're going to do is let's just look down the line. We're going to grab this depth one. Okay, so depth.p, we're going to click here, and what's going to happen is, I'm going to just click on over to here. You're going to see that it pops up. I think that is popped up there. Yeah, okay. It's going to pop up where to download it to. Now, some of you guys have on your computers where it just downloads to the download files. If it does that, you just need to go there and copy it, or cut it, and you're going to paste it to here. So what we do is we go to the location of where we have installed SD-Forge. So here's mine. Okay, here it says Web UI. We're going to click there. It's going to say Models. Okay, and then it says ControlNet. Okay, and we're going to save it there. Click that. Okay, then we're going to go down here to the next one. We're going to find Canny. Do the same thing. Click it. Go to the place. Save it. And then lastly, we're going to grab OpenPath. Do the exact same thing. You can get those 3 in there. Then we're going to move on to the next stage. We're going to type in ILLYASVIEL, Ilias Viel. And then we're going to go ControlNet XL. So now we're downloading for our XL models. And the reason this is because when you're using ControlNet, you can use whatever model you want, right? So you have a model that you like that puts out good images, you can use that, but you need to know, is it an XL model? Is it an XD model? And you have to have the right control net. So it has to do with the architecture. So the math has to work. You got to have very simplified. If I have a grid that's 4x4, I need to be working with another grid that's 4x4. I can't work with a grid that's 4x6. It ain't going to work. And so these models have different architectures. So when you're using an SD model, it has a certain architecture. When you're using an XL model, it has a certain architecture. And what will happen is you'll find your model you like. You go, oh, I like this one. It really makes exactly what I want, right? Maybe it's your anime stuff, or maybe it's photorealistic, or maybe you just kind of like the blend of whatever. It's going to be one of those. And so we need ControlNet models that will work for them all. So we have, all right, I think I'm on that. We got the SD ones. So now we're going to pop back over to our browser and we're going to grab these XL ones. So we type that in there, click this up, and now this one's going to come up. It says Elias Field SD, see, SD Control Collection. Going to click on this, same thing, hug and face. Then we go over to our files and versions. Now, you're going to have a bunch of different ones here. So we're going to grab our Canny. Notice you've got small, mid, and full. The full is 2.5 gigabytes. It's very large, but it's going to be a better picture. It's going to be trained on more data. You have your mid, which is only half a gig, okay? And then you got your small, which is 3.2 or 320 megabytes. So you decide how much disk space you have. I tend to have enough disk space, and when I'm doing this stuff, I don't really want to fart around with lower quality stuff. I want to grab the bigger stuff. That's just me, okay? So I'm going to click on the download. Same thing as before. Let's click on over to desktop here. I'm going to click it. It's going to pop up. I'm going to go find where I save my stuff. There's my SD Forge, my web UI. I'm going to go to my models and my ControlNet, and then I'm going to hit save. Yo! And it's going to save it. Again, if you don't have it, if you haven't changed your browser's way of saving it, will save it into your downloads folder. And then you need to go there. You need to cut it and put it in the right place. Whoops. Hold on. All right, we're going to use these later. All right. So we're going to do that with Canny. Then same thing. We're going to scroll down here. And look, they've got different types of Canny too. Okay, so actually, I'm not quite certain the different versions of this. I believe you can look it up. I've been using this T21, I believe. Okay, so now what we need is depth. So we'll go find a depth one. Here's an XL depth. This is for anime. I'm going to grab this one, just the plain one. Okay. So again, you can play around with these. This one's only 46.2 megabytes. So let's click that one, download it. Okay. So again, you can mess around with these and play. There ain't nothing saying you got to grab one over the other. I'm just showing you some ones to grab, to look at. Then do your thing. And then this is the one that I use down here. We need lastly our OpenPose. So I use this Stable OpenPose, and I grab the 2.5 gigabytes. The one that I'm most interested in is an OpenPose, because you're going to see it has to do with like stick figures you can really manipulate. And so I want to make sure I get a good model. I want to make sure that I can be doing what I want to do. So I'm going to grab this bigger one. We're going to download it. Same thing as always. It's going to ask us where we're going to put it. We're going to put it. We're going to tell it where to put it, and then we are done. Woo! Wipe your forehead, yo! We downloaded some models. Okay, so again, if you just want to get it done and you don't want to go through all that, just go over to my Patreon site and find the ControlNet models for Forge. Okay, threw myself off there. Okay, but yeah, go ahead and grab that. All right, now getting back to our SD Forge, we have downloaded our models. Next, what we have to do is we go down. We already opened this up. Remember, this was closed. We opened it up. Boom. We checked it. Make sure it's open. Now, what we can do is we can choose what we want. So let's do an easy one first. Let's work on. Let's see. What are we going to do here? Well, let's do depth. Depth is probably the easiest one to use. You click depth, okay? Now, over here, you need to click this little recycle button, this refresh button. You click that, then all your models are going to pop up, okay? Now, when you click these things, notice this down here, this preprocessor changes. That's clever enough to know it. Now, it's got different types of depth. I'm not going to go into what each one of these do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go depth anything. Okay, and we're going to click that because for my money, I just want to make a realistic photo. And depth anything is going to do that. These other ones are going to do different stuff for you. You can look into that online. Throw it into ChatGPT and ask it and get a explanation. So it's going to say depth anything V2. Now we got to look at what model we're running. So I've got Juggernaut, you'll see up here, and it's an XL model. So I'm going to need to make sure that when I go over here to my depth model, I'm going to click it. Look at, I've got one for SD 1.5. got one for XL, so I'm going to need to click that. Okay, now these are loaded. So now what we do is we go ahead and we want to load our depth model. So when we were, let's see here, let's do this. When we were over here, okay, so this is all ballerina stuff here. This is all ballet stuff. So you see how this is, it's got an outline. That's a depth model. Okay, so you can put it in there, and then it relies heavily on text prompting. So you'd be like a ballet, a guy doing ballet. He's standing on one foot with a leg behind him and his hands in the air. Okay, that's a depth model. See this? This is an OpenPose model. Okay, because it has these little sticks, and there's going to be some tricks I'm going to have to show you. Some of these we can just pop right in, others we can't. But you'll see this is a JSON file. This is also going to be used for OpenPose. Okay, and we'll show you the difference. The difference is going to be when we're using this one, we have to recreate it ourselves. When we use this one, if it loads in, they don't always load in, then it does it for us. So, but we're going to start over here with, let's just do this ballet one here. And we're going to go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're just going to drag that from here, and I'm going to put it over into my SD Forge. So let me get this back up here real quick. All right, so now it is in my SD Forge. I can zoom in, zoom out, doesn't really matter. Main thing is I've got in depth anything here. Okay, that's all I've got to do. I've got to make sure this is checked. Okay, oh shoot, see if you scroll, it'll kind of go like that. If you ever need to reset it, just click right there. All right, now I can go down here, and you got control weight. That's how much you're going to be forcing this onto whatever you create. This sometimes, if you're getting weird stuff, put it down to around 0.8. Let's start with the 0.8. Now we're going to scroll up here. We've already got a Juggernaut XL, and we're going to type a prompt. So we're going to say, man doing a ballet dance. He is standing on one leg with his other leg behind him. His hands are in the air. Now, a lot of times it's going to throw out weird stuff. So I go to my negative prompts, and I almost always use this. So just write this down and remember this. I always write, what I don't want is malformed. I don't want deformed. I don't want ugly, because it can make some weird stuff. I don't want disproportionate. Disproportionate. How do you spell that? Disproportionate, I think. Good Lord. Okay. And then I'll also add this, extra legs. Man, you can get some horror shows. So we've got it done here. We did some basic stuff. We're just going to click generate. Should bring this up here in just a second. It has to load the model. So we'll give it a second to do that. There you can see it's coming up, and okay, it kind of did it. It didn't really hold. Oh, we didn't actually. Look at that. We had the wrong ControlNet click. We're going to click this one. Okay, so it did it, but it didn't hold to our thing. Let's try it again. We'll click generate. So if it doesn't work, you know something's wrong. Okay, there we go. Look at that. It brought it up, and weird picture. Okay, so there's a dude, and you'll notice his hands are the same way. All right, let's do another one. We're going to go over here and just click this to delete that thing. Now let's go ahead. We'll click over here to grab an image. I don't think you can see where I'm at. Excuse me, I got a burpee here. Let's go ahead and, I don't know. Let's try this. There's one here called fist bumping. Let's try that. All right, so we're going to put that in here, and there's an image. So up here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say, we could do anything. We'll say, Iranian man giving a fist bump. And I just said that just to get something random. There we go. Look at that. and it does it up. That's actually a really cool picture. I like that. And you'll notice this one's wide, so you can actually drag your width up, pull your height down a little bit. Oh, that's another thing I put in here. Under the negatives, I put NSFW because you end up getting stuff that you don't want. So especially when you're doing, if you ever put like a girl, it'll just do naked and stuff. So, all right, let's try. Get that guy off of there. All right, let's try one more here. Let's click over here, and let's go over to, how about high five? This is all in the. This is all in the pack. Okay, here's a gal giving a high five. So we're going to say, we'll say a Spanish woman, fully clothed, giving a high five. Oops, that's going to be wider than we want because we forgot to change this. It's okay. You can see that the model's still same. So let's change it up here. We're going to let the height be more than the width, and then let's give it, this is before I get kicked off YouTube. You know, these models, they want to go nude, so you got to be careful. So we can try this again. That didn't work so good. Let's try one more here. See if we can end up on a height. How about leaning against something? There we go. So click that. Now since we refreshed, we have to do this all over again. So we can open this up. We grab our depth. Okay. Go back down here. Depth anything, and then we make sure we use our XL. Okay. So we can, same thing. Let's put our negatives in here. We don't want malformed. We don't want deformed. Ugly. We don't want extra legs. We don't want not safe for work. And we'll just put in there naked. We don't want naked. Okay, now we're going to say man leaning against a wall and waving. Let's say a clown. Let's do a clown with an orange, a clown with a large nose and an orange afro. Cornage. What the heck is a cornage? All right, let's try this again. So it's going to load up again because we refreshed, so it has to kind of do our stuff again. And there we go. So that's depth. That's pretty cool. All right. Let's move on to our OpenPose. Actually, let's really quickly, I'm going to show you how Canny works. And I'm just going to use this model we already did. So I'm going to go down here. We're going to trash this. Let's click on Canny. Same thing, you can notice it pops it up over to here. Now we have to go down here and grab our XL. Now with Canny, you can grab any image and just put it in here. Okay. So if you're ever getting one of the pose packs and it has a certain pose in there, you just throw it in there like this. You can also just go to the internet, grab an image, and throw it in there. Once this is done, you come here, you click this little run preprocessor, and notice it makes an outline. Okay, so that's what it's going to use. So now we can go in here and get creative. We're going to say a Scandinavian pirate lady with an earring. Let's just see if it could do it. Let's not even say that it's leaning against the wall, because it should figure that out by itself because it's got. There you go. All right, very cool. So it decided to do it that way. And let's try another one. Let's go ahead with this. Oh, you can play around with the CFG scale. If you put this down here, it's going to look more photorealistic. And let's say leaning against a light post in Scotland Yard. I don't know. Let's see what it does. Should be a hooker there. All right, so it's grabbing and making not so realistic. So let's try this. Let's go do our this one. Let's go photo. Let's go painting. We don't want it to be a painting. We don't want it to be a drawing. We don't want it to be line art. Okay. So let's say a 4K photo of. Let's see if that fixes this up a little bit. Could just be because it doesn't know how to put Scandinavian and whatnot together. There we go. Getting something a little bit better there. So you can play around with that. Oh, and you know, that's the other thing. We didn't change the model weights. Remember, it's always good. If it's not working, go down to your control weight. We could go down to 0.8. We could probably do that, and I bet it'll come out even better. Well, that's weird. Or not. Anyway, you can play around with that, okay? So, but you can see it's still getting the model. That's actually kind of cool looking. That would kind of be a cool gate. But you play around with your control thing. Put your CFG scales back up. Do it. Okay, so now let's move on to OpenPose. OpenPose is the more challenging one that we have here. So, what we're going to do is we're going to clear this out again. All right, let's go. Let's put our stuff kind of back to where it was. CFG scale. Put our control weights right around there. Okay, so now there's two different ways that we can use OpenPose. Okay, the easiest way. Okay, well, first of all, what we got to do is we got to click here where it says OpenPose. Same thing. It's going to bring this up. Okay, I'm just going to go DW OpenPose full. That works about the best. Then I'm going to go down to my XL. Okay. Now, there's two different ways we're going to do this. One is we can download, we can put an image in, okay? Like, let's say we grab this one and put it in. Same thing, we could click this little button here and it's going to convert it into an OpenPose for us. So then we could, when we go up here and we say a stewardess resting against the plane. It's going to keep the stuff. Okay. Obviously, these are not great photos, but I'm not prompting them very well either, so we're not too worried about that. Okay. Now, when you use it this way, there's like three ways we can do this. When you use it this way, you throw the photo in, it creates this thing, and then use it. Now, what we can do is we can click this edit button. Okay. And then we can change stuff up. So let's say I want to move this hand. This whole thing, I'm going to highlight the whole thing, and I want to rotate it. So it's going like that. Okay? Now let's say I want to grab this stuff here. And I want to pull it here, and then I want to rotate it. In fact, I want to, let's see here. I want to make that. You can see these little dots represent kind of the joints. Okay, let's say, see, it's not showing her leg here very well. So we could actually go over here, click here on the person, and let's see. Okay, the right knee's not showing. Okay, so we could actually add that in by clicking there. It added this in. We could drag this over to here. Make that more pronounced. Okay, and so let's move her face a little bit. All right, so you can move it however you want. Okay, notice these things over here. If I wanted to get rid of a certain part or add a part, I can just click them. When you're done, you go up here and you click Send Pose to ControlNet. Now notice it's going to change. Now, I'm not going to change it. Stewardess resting against the plane. Let's click Generate, but now her body part should change. There you go. Notice it's doing this. Now, I could do things on there to suggest to the AI. So I'm going to say, she is holding a basketball. Notice her hands are in a position where she could be holding something. So we're suggesting to the AI what's going on. So that was a weird one, not that great. Sometimes you get winners, sometimes you get losers. So there you go. There it got it. Now again, I'm not spending a ton of time making these perfect, but I think you get the idea that you could do whatever you want. Look at that. Her legs are great. Over here, it's going down and there. That's what her leg is doing. This one's going there and then back. That's what it's doing. The hands are actually closer. See, this hand is actually up. We could actually rotate that to fix it, but you can get the idea. We just control netted the daylight lights, the lights out of this thing. So, and again, if you go over to here and you get one of these control packs that I've got here, these pose packs, you're going to find that along with a lot of these, you're going to get a lot of these things in here, the stick figure stuff, but you're also going to get some photos, and with those photos you can throw them in there, and that's how you would handle them. Okay, now let's go ahead and clear this out, and we're going to show you another way that we do this. So we'll go over here, clear this out, and then we're going to, I'm going to make it a little messy here for a second. We're going to desktop. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to click here, and well, actually, first let's see if we can upload a JSON. So see here, it says upload JSON. So we're going to go, now look at here, leaning against the table. Okay, let's go find a new one over here, but let's say hands on waist. Okay, notice these are in JSON, so let's just pick one. Okay, look at that. That's perfect. So it actually loaded it up for us over here. We don't even have to worry about the image. Okay, so now we would go up here and we could say a blonde, I don't know. Let's just say a beautiful Scottish woman with one hand on her side and with one hand on her side. The other hand is holding a mirror that she was looking at. All right, let's see how that does. So we've got the hand over here on the side. There we go. And there's the mirror. Now she is pretty, ain't she? Okay, so you can see that. All we did was we loaded up a JSON. So let's try it again. We click there. We went down here, upload JSON. Let's try this one. Okay, looks like hand on waist. She's thinking. So we'll say, beautiful Indian woman is deep in thought. Her arm and hand are across her stomach, and she's resting her head in the other. Okay, and let's see. So we're going to probe it in there. It sends us in there. Yeah, there you go. That's beautiful, isn't it? And it got it very good. So that was using the JSON. Now, these are our best bets. Now, sometimes what happens is we get a picture of the, well, like this, you know, I'm not sure what they call that exactly, the OpenPose, I guess. We'll get given a picture of an OpenPose, but we can't actually use it. That's actually really cool. That one got it even better. Look at that. I threw it back in there, had it process it again, and it did it again. That's great. Okay, so sometimes we have to recreate them ourselves. So what we'll do is we'll click over and we grab something like, well, let's say we got this gal here. Okay, it's the same picture. Let's assume this one ain't here. But if you notice, when we go down here to pre-process it, it ain't going to process it because it's trying to grab this as it's trying to find a person. It ain't finding it. Okay, so what we do is we just delete that, and then we're going to go over here to edit. Okay, now you'll notice it has the original picture behind there. So what we're going to do is we're going to click add person. This is the most difficult way of doing this. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to grab this person. We're going to kind of get it in the right side. So we're going to use this one in the back here as our guide. We're going to put here, Now we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, well, we kind of want it to match. Let's try this. So now watch. I'm going to put that red dot here, that's the neck, on the red dot there. Now what I can do is I'm going to drag each one of these dots to meet with everything here. Okay, so I'll pull this all the way down to here. See that? I'm just following the lines, following the guides. So sometimes you got to recreate these things. This one's going to go all the way down here. Now I don't need these, so watch. There's a dot there. I'm just going to right click on it and it disappears. Do the same thing here. I'm going to pull that down. Then I'm going to right click on these. They disappear. Okay. Now all I got to do is add a hand. So okay, so it's got two persons. Let's just delete this person here. That ain't even a person. Okay, so we're dealing with this one over here. I could tell that that was the one because I would press the I, it would disappear. Okay, I want to get... Now, if we click here, it's going to show all the body parts. So let's click on this here. And let's see where that's the right knee. We don't need the right knee, so let's hide it. Okay? We don't need the right ankle, so let's hide it. Same thing, left knee. But it's the same thing we did here. I could also just right click on it. Okay? But now we got to add a hand. So, that's her left hand. So let's add left hand. That's going to put this here. Now this can get a little bit more complicated here. So we're going to shift this over here. Looks like the thumb. Let's make it a little smaller. And let's put it over here. Okay, so I'm not going to play too much around with this because it's kind of crazy. But I think with this too, yeah, see, you can be doing all this with the thumb and doing the coordinates. Let's scroll in here a little bit. It's the same thing. I just used my mouse to scroll in. It's the same thing. I just kind of follow the guides. It is not my favorite thing to do. When it comes, this is the kind of stuff when I get to it, I'm pretty much like, that's good enough. And then this one, notice we'll just grab that there. Okay. All right, now if I scroll out, you're going to see we made a pretty decent copy of the gal. So we're going to go up here. We click Send Pose to ControlNet. Okay. Now if we do the same thing, let's say beautiful Lebanese woman. You know, women are beautiful all over the world. That is pretty awesome. But, let's see. Okay, so there you go. And look at it, did it again. Okay? And so that one was, we had to recreate it. So we have 3 different ways that we're looking at this thing, right? Sometimes with the OpenPose, we can just upload the JSON and it creates that stick figure for us, okay? Other times, it doesn't. It actually just uploads this one and then we have to go recreate it. Other times, it can give us an image and we can just throw it in there, hit the little POW button, and it'll go for us. Okay, and then that one again made the face. You could open her lips up, make her nose, however you want. So that's awesome stuff. Okay, and to do that, we just went on to DW OpenPose. You can change these up a bit. Like if you're not worried, you're just worried about the face, or you're just worried about certain parts, you can kind of pick on that. I just keep it on DW OpenPose full. All right, and so that is how we can generate whatever we want. We have done our Canny. Okay, if you remember where we at here. I'm a little bit lost here. this stuff gets out of control here. Where are we at? Oh, here we are. Oh, it's because that thing was hiding it. All right, so we had our Canny, and our Canny was the blurry stuff that we use. So we can load that up there, put it in there. It's going to create the image. It's going to be very text, or that was the depth. We click the depth, and we can pull this up. The Canny is going to break it into something like this, okay, so that it can recreate it. We can change up the background quite a bit. And then the OpenPose was the one that we just did. Let me show you what the depth looks like again. It does something like that. So there's your depth. There's your Canny. And there's your OpenPose. Okay? And that's how you do that. Some of these, if you can get the line stuff onto the right side like this, then you don't have to recreate it. If you have something like this that's over here, you're not going to be able to get it to the side. You're going to have to recreate it. Stupid fly. Man, it's like 2 in the morning and I still got flies buzzing. So that's how you do that. Canny, depth, OpenPose. You have to download the models from your Elias VL control collection and the 1.1 collection. That's how you get those. If you need it, if it's too confusing, just go grab it off of my Patreon page. You can find models, create your own models from images online, or you can grab one of these for the Patreon, and you've got 300. You keep you busy for hours making stuff. Look at there's a lady doing yoga and dude playing basketball. All sorts of good stuff that is for your generating goodness. Okay, if you have any questions, hit me up. It can be a little bit confusing, and I know we kind of bounced a little bit through here, but honestly, if you're following this stuff, you're smart enough to figure this out. And really, I've given you everything you need to know to get going fast and start making the stuff you need. If you have questions, hit me up. I'm on the Discord. I'm on YouTube. You can find me on the Patreon. You can find me over at Reddit. You could hit me up on GitHub if you want. I'm around. So very willing to help you. And as usual, I want you to stay good. And we will catch you on the other side. Yo.